Tony, lovely to see you.
Good to see you too.
I know the club's celebrating an anniversary next year, but it's also an anniversary for you as an Albion fan, a significant one. Do you still have the excitement that you had when you were young and first going to watch Seagulls games?
Yeah, that excitement, that passion for the Albion hasn't dimmed at all. It's only grown and got bigger over the years. So yeah, there's always big excitement before every game.
Obviously, 9th season in the Premier League. Do you have to sort of pinch yourself, or has it all become quite sort of familiar, I suppose, being in the Premier League? You can't take anything for granted, can you?
Well, absolutely can't take it for granted, but we've got to work really hard, always number one, to make sure we've got the squad and we make sure we stay up each season. Things can go wrong during a season, can go wrong very quickly. So we absolutely don't take anything for granted. We're always looking upwards, we're always looking to improve, but absolutely we want to be in the Premier League season after season after season if we possibly can.
It's a bit stop-start at this stage of the season with the international weeks, but what are you made of the first 7 matches and of course League Cup action as well, but what are you made of the start?
Well, certainly the League Cup action, we start there, has gone really well. 2 scintillating performances with much changed teams. Premier League is always really, really difficult. Some really good games, some really good goals, some difficult moments, and we're doing absolutely fine. I think we can improve. I think we will improve, but a steady start.
So you've got great wins against Manchester City and Chelsea. There's some maybe sort of more familiar results against teams towards the bottom that's been highlighted by a lot of people. How do you feel about that sort of situation at the moment, and probably from last season as well?
Yeah, I get it. We have overachieved against some of the best teams in the Premier League, and certainly in terms of results, underachieved against teams that people expect us to win. But I think there's just normal variations. I don't read anything into it.
In terms of the squad, how was the summer window for you? Obviously, a lot of signings with a lot of potential at the club.
Yeah, I mean, the positive thing is, as we always try and do, but normally it's not possible, we did a lot of business early, so you always want that. Every head coach obviously wants that. So that was positive. We did get early in pre-season a few niggling injuries. A couple of players were injured. The Greek boys were injured back end of last season, so that was difficult. But we just got a really good blend of young players in the squad who are going to be improving month on month, year on year, with some really good solid pros and experienced as well at the club. So I like the balance, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, having Danny Welbeck and James Milner help young players, is there any concern at all about that gap being too big maybe for some of those signings, or do you feel just patience is required?
Well, absolutely patience is required. Every young player develops at a different rate, and Fabian, will know when to bring those players in. Obviously, it depends on the player's development, but even though we spend sometimes significant sums for us on young players, there's no pressure for them to be playing immediately. Absolutely not. We've got a very good squad. Our squad overall, the depth of the squad is superb, and so that takes the pressure off. With perhaps some clubs, they buy a young player for a lot of money. The expectation and pressure is for them to get in the starting lineup quickly. As far as I'm concerned, at this football club, they'll get into the first team when they are ready, when Fabian deems them to be ready, and when the situation merits it.
Has there been any change of focus in terms of recruitment? We'll talk about the backroom staff changes in a minute, but in terms of, you're sort of heralded as someone who's at a club that's gone to different markets, but there seems to be a bit of less signings maybe from someone like South America, maybe more European, and maybe you could explain that sort of, if there has been.
Yeah, we for recruitment, we're looking globally. So whether it's in South America, whether it's in Asia, whether it's in other countries in Europe, we are looking for the best possible players, for the right type of player, for the age profile, and for the money. So we don't care where it is, hence we have huge amounts of nationalities in the building.
Is it becoming more difficult?
Everything about the Premier League every year becomes more difficult, hence we have to always look to improve and innovate. Because if you stand still, it's talked about a lot in many businesses, but particularly in football and particularly in the Premier League, our competitors are fiercely competitive. They are looking to overtake one another, get stronger all the time. So we have to do likewise. And ideally, we're going ahead even faster than the other teams.
In terms of those analytics, that's what sort of set you apart in the past. Do you feel like other teams are adopting that, catching you up, or do you have to continue to innovate, and how challenging is that for you?
I don't know exactly what other clubs are doing. They don't necessarily talk about it, but you can assume they're spending a lot of time to try and improve in all areas, particularly the areas of analytics in terms of their recruitment processes. So we have to innovate, and we just aim to get better every season, which we are.
You've made changes. David Weir has gone. You brought in Jason Ato in a different role and promoted Mikey Cave. Just tell us about that decision-making process and why you made that change.
Yeah. Well, first of all, David's was with us for 8 years or so. You know, he in the different roles he's done really well at the Albion. Very, very popular at the club. It's just sometimes you do need to look to go one stage more, look to innovate, look to bring in different areas, and it was just time for a refresh, time to look at all areas of the football club. I think bringing in Jason, promoting Mike really brings that to the football club.
What does Jason bring? Why him?
Well, Jason's been in football for a long time. He's been at Arsenal for a very long time. He had the interim sporting director role for 9 months and did a really, really good job. He got very, very close to getting the full-time sporting director role at Arsenal. He is just got the skill set, we believe, in many, many different areas. He's seen, working for Edu at Arsenal, how things work there. He can bring so many different experiences. He's got great manager, working in different areas. In a sporting context, a football club takes a lot of different skills. And we believe that Jason's got that. He started really well. He's only been with us for a few weeks. Mike's been with us quite a long time, working alongside each other. That's working very well. So I am optimistic of the future for how that aspect of the football club is going to work.
You mentioned the future. In the background, the 2030 date is always something that's quoted, and something you just tell us and the listeners, fans, whatever, what that vision is and how it manifests itself for you.
Yeah, well, this is going back 12, 18 months ago, because you need to energise the football club on a regular basis. So it's about having goals and breaking them down in different areas. So Paul and the management team over many, many months were talking to all of our staff about how we can improve in their particular areas, and obviously on the football side. So we've had our long-term vision for quite a while in terms of aim to be regularly competing for the top 10 in the Premier League, top 4 in the Women's Super League. We also talk about the fact that we are really pushing every season, which we do anyway, to bring a trophy to the football club. That would mean so much to our fans, to the football club and to the city. And it's just looking at each individual area to get to a level of improvement, and it's a gradual improvement because we are doing lots of things very, very well at the football club, but we must never stand still. And so, one of the areas, for example, is we've brought in a chief technology officer for the first time, and he's been a huge breath of fresh air, lots of innovative ideas which can create efficiencies in many, many different departments. And obviously where we are, the football side is the most important because what happens on the pitch generates the excitement, generates the revenues everywhere else. So that's where he started. And I know that Fabian in particular is very happy with certain innovative things he's brought very quickly, which helps him, whether it's in the media room in terms of on the training pitch, to help communicate his thoughts and his ideas to the players.
You mentioned revenues. Obviously, PSR is a big factor when it comes to the Premier League. There's been discussions about alternatives. What are your thoughts on that, changing that system? And I know it hasn't really sort of impacted on you necessarily the last couple of years, but going forward, what do you think that impact might be if that switch is made?
Yeah, I think there's a vote coming up in the next few weeks to change that system. There'd be a year, if it does get voted through, there'd be a year of having both systems, and then it will be fully with the squad cost ratio if it gets voted in, which will be a lot more similar with differences to the UEFA system. We're in the process of going through that. We don't have a view yet on which way we will be voting, and there's also the top to bottom anchor, and there's also sustainability vote. So there's a lot for us to go through, but we will know a lot more, and the votes will happen in the next month or so.
How important is that decision?
I think it's really important. There has to be some kind of financial sustainability. PSR has worked to an extent. It's far from perfect, but it had stopped clubs being able to spend whatever they want. No system is perfect. The advantage of the squad cost ratio is it's more real time. It's looking over a season rather than looking backwards over a 3-year period. But there's pros and cons of both. So, we really are looking at it in detail as we speak. Lee Cooper, as you'd expect, is all over the details, and we're going to be having a meeting towards the end of the month.
So a big decision for the Premier League. Other leagues have decided to take their football abroad. Serie A going to Australia and La Liga going to America. I know the Premier League set out its stall, but what's your view on taking games outside of the UK?
Yeah, certainly bringing football teams like the Premier League series pre-season abroad is superb. Bringing Premier League games abroad, I'm personally not in favour of. I like the system where you play 19 games at home, 19 games away. The Premier League is becoming bigger and better every season, more and more popular. So I don't feel like other leagues who perhaps are falling behind to some extent, we as the Premier League don't need to do that to create more noise and create more fans. We're always looking to do that, but I think we can do that within the existing system.
Outside of the Premier League, what about the WSL and where the women's team's at the moment? Obviously, a lot of people asking what's happening with the stadium. We keep having to, so we talked about it at the Women's Fans Forum with Zoe then. Is there any updates? And again, what impact could that have, hopefully sooner rather than later, perhaps?
Yeah, we would love to have news. We're really committed to bringing the women's team back to Brighton full-time with the stadium. There has been delays. We would like to have made the announcement by now. I can't put a time on it. Things have been outside of our control, but we are really committed to bringing the women's team back with their own designated stadium, but I can't say anything more at this stage.
Where does your sort of burning desire to have the women right up there and challenging for that top four, where does that come from, Tony?
Well, when we made the announcement back 5-6 years ago of the vision for the men's team to be competing top 10, we had to bring the women in as well. So we put a really tough target. It was before Manchester United were in the WSL. Obviously this season we've got the challenge, and not just this season going on, of the London Lionesses, and they are putting huge investment in. So it's probably becoming even tougher. But women's sport, rightly so, is becoming more and more popular. Women's football in this country is the fastest growing sport in the country. And I think it's going to continue and continue, because football is such a huge fabric of the community, and women are 50% of our population. So it's not a surprise to me. So I think if you look forward 10, 15 years, women's football will be significantly bigger, more popular, watched, not just in this country, but around the world, because I think the WSL, with the equivalent in the USA, those two women's leagues are going to strengthen and just get bigger and bigger compared to their rivals, in my opinion. And so we want to be at the forefront of it. It's really important for this football club. It's really important for the community to give the girls, give the women lots of opportunity. And we don't have another stadium outside of the Amex in the Brighton and Hove area to be able to play the games. And unfortunately, the Amex, wonderful stadium that it is, can't host all the games because of conflicts with the Premier League schedule. And it is too big a stadium. I mean, we do it sometimes because we want to play games in Brighton, but having 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 in a 32,000 stadium isn't great for atmosphere. And so designated stadium for women players, for the fan base, which is a very different demographic to people watching our men's team, I think is vitally important to this football club and to the city.
You mentioned the future there. What is the biggest challenge for Tony Bloom as the owner of a Premier League football club going forward, perhaps in the next 12 months, but also beyond that as well?
There's always obstacles, there's always difficulties. It is very difficult, first of all, for a club of our size to consistently punch above our weight and just to stay in the Premier League, because you just need one season where things don't quite go right. 3 teams is a lot of teams to get relegated each season. When you look at it and you think at least 6 of the teams really shouldn't be anywhere close to ever being relegated. Now, it doesn't mean they can't get relegated. So it's not easy. So we have to always be on top of our game, always be focused, not take anything for granted. Every transfer window is really important. You know, the growth of our academy, bringing academy players in is so key. And when we loan players out, we loan them, we're really careful, the clubs that they go to, for them to hopefully get the right game time to play for the right head coaches, to play in the right positions. It is not an easy one because you are relying on a third-party club. Sometimes they change head coach. That's happened a few times, which has limited certain players' minutes. But we want to try and get everything as right as we possibly can, which is things which are within our control. The finances are really tough. Clubs are spending more and more money. The net spend of our competitors just keeps going up. If you look at our net spend at Brighton and Hove Albion over the last 5 years compared to our rivals, we are spending a lot less. Most clubs lose significant sums of money. We want to be a sustainable football club. We will have seasons, obviously, where we lose a lot of money, as well as some seasons where we make a lot of money. But over a consistent time, if we stay in the Premier League, we will be sustainable and we will be profitable. But most of our rivals not. So it's really tough to compete with that. And obviously the very biggest clubs, their commercial revenues, their stadium revenues are so much bigger than ours. So, we have significant obstacles to overcome. But we as a club, I as an individual, we're happy to take on the competition. We're happy to do the best that we can. And we have big advantages over obviously other clubs. So there'll be clubs, in the lower leagues. Look at Brighton with our amazing full stadium of 32,000 and our training facilities, and they will also think, it's really difficult for them to compete with us. That is just the ecosystem. To be fair, we used to be in that position 15, 20 years ago. So, it takes a lot of investment. You need the right, right people involved in clubs. But the great thing about the pyramid in England is any team can get promoted. So any team in League Two, with a bit of luck, with the right investment, can have aspirations to get into the Premier League and to stay in the Premier League. And that's why football is so brilliant, and that's why there's so many fans of so many clubs across the country.
You mentioned investment in talking here about Brighton and Hove Albion primarily, but I've got to ask you about 2 other clubs you have an interest in Hearts and Union Saint-Gilloise, both top of their division, so things go pretty well elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm delighted. Union Saint-Gilloise has gone from strength to strength since they got promoted. I mean, the first 3 seasons, we got very, very close to winning the league. Last season, we finally did. One of our ex-players is now the head coach, Sebastian Pocognoli, done an amazing job, and it's just great to see them again having a great start to the season and competing in the Champions League. And Hearts, which have taken a minority investment in the summer, really think that Scottish football has got underinvested, under-resourced, not particularly exciting to the outside world. I mean, I was growing up watching or following Scottish football, and just to see 2 teams dominate, or mainly in the last 15 years, one team dominate, isn't really good. So I thought I could help make a difference. and I believe Heart of Midlothian, are a great club. They are the biggest fan-owned club in the UK, and I'm delighted to be involved with them to help them, and it's great to see them top of the table, and long may that continue.
Well, their fans, I'm sure, are very, very happy. Finally, is there a message to the Albion fans for the rest of the season, your hopes and targets? You were very vocal at the beginning of the season about winning a trophy, getting into Europe. Are you still as confident now as you were maybe at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, I don't think you can ever be confident of winning a trophy. I mean, we haven't won a major trophy ever, so we don't want to get obsessed with it. We know how difficult it is. The latter stages of any cup competition are playing some of the best teams in the world, but we absolutely are aiming every season to be competitive, to be aiming to win cup competitions, and that's the men's and the women's as well. What's a bit more in our control is the league form, the league position, and as I said before, our aim is to be playing in Europe. We love playing in Europe a couple of seasons ago, and we want to be regularly pushing for those European spots.